Hey, what's going on? Bottom to the top hoops. E. Jones, what's popping, man?
Black Elvis, you already know we in the building.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Top of the top. It's New Year 2021. Couple of days away, couple of weeks away from that transition of power in the White House. But before we get started on that, I want to definitely thank the people who help us make this happen and sponsor our show. So big shout out to T-Mobile, who continue to support us. Who else we shouting out, L?
Big shout out to the Harlem Wizards.
Yes, sir. Make sure you check out that Wiz Fit Challenge. Big shout out to Fine Food Cuisine, best takeout food in the Bronx. Definitely go check them out. Mars Park Avenue, Chef Al, getting it popping. Big shout out to my man Slice, always holding us down, taking good care of us over at Fine Food Cuisine.
Big shout out to Kevin Rubin, R&B Real Estate Solutions.
Yes, sir. If you need to get, go find a crib, a rental property, you need to find a investment property, you need to be paired with a lender or anything regarding real estate, Kevin Rubin is definitely the person to see. R&B, right?
Yes, R&B Real Estate Solutions.
Yes, sir. Definitely check them out. Big shout out to the people who helped us out in the beginning, MMCC, Montefiore Medical Center, people over in Parkchester help us put this together. And last but definitely not least, 109 Embroidery, my man Diallo, go see him for all of your needs, heat press, embroidery, screen printing. They get it popping over there in East Harlem. So, Al, I'm going to give a disclaimer.
Okay.
We're not talking about basketball today.
Not at all.
We love the game. We love New York City. We love the ability to be able to share present and past information. But we felt as a company, that being Bottom to the Top Hoops, respectfully, as well as BCOM TV, City Legends, that we didn't want to be tone deaf. We didn't want to act like this elephant in the room of things that are happening that's affecting society, including basketball, and the players and the people who participate in it are not directly affected by everything that's happened in the past week and going back to the election. So with that being said, when we tackle these kind of topics, what our goal is to give you our insight, try to be as objective as possible, and try and help, right? As much as we want to give information which is coming from media sources and journalists all around the world, I think it's important while you point out a challenge or a problem or a concern area to make sure you give viable solutions for people to be able to have options in terms of weighing information and doing what they would think would be best for themselves as well as the greater good. So what's your perspective, Al?
I mean, I respect and love the fact that you gave me the call and said, you know what, let's scrap the next episode and literally talk about what's going on in the climax of the world today. So I respect you for that, because I would have kind of kept it basketball because we already had the show filmed. I mean, I would love to just start off by saying, for the people who's really spiritually connected, 2020 vision. Think about it, 2020 vision.
Clear.
Everything's clear now. So, one thing, in the beginning, I had got a lot of slack because I had said to some people that Donald Trump being put in office was the best thing to happen to Black people. They thought I was crazy.
Okay.
But one thing he is he's going to show who he is. He wears his emotions on his sleeve, and he's not going to hide it because he's that arrogant. So when you have that, you're going to have a blatant person of who he is. And it was displayed. It was on Front Street for all of us to see.
Well, you put that very eloquently, and I agree with you. And it's forcing the conversation to have, including this one. If you guys, the listeners, the subscribers, the followers, don't take anything away from this conversation today, Know that this is coming from a place of genuine concern. Know that this is coming from a place of people who are tax-paying citizens who just want to see things get better. So that being said, I'm going to go back, L, to 2016. I have some friends and even family members who voted for Trump. And it was a concern for me because I wanted to know where that vote was coming from. Because leading up to the election, he kind of was showing who he was. The misogyny, some of the, racist comments that he made. And, I don't think it was, some people could be it could be overlooked because the agenda, he's a great marketer. He has the ability to persuade. There's some great qualities that Trump has because of the success that he's been able to accrue, in business. So to that point, I just felt like people were choosing in that election the best of the candidates that were available to them. So they liked Trump more, or they hated Hillary more than they liked Trump, if that makes sense. So it wasn't necessarily that they cared for everything that he was saying, but they was like, hey, he's a good businessman and he's apolitical, and I'm getting tired of the bureaucracy that exists, on Capitol Hill and in government in general. So that said, it just started getting progressively worse.
Yeah.
Leading to the point where the election kept being disputed in the high courts, and it just constantly kept getting shut down. But he wasn't satisfied with that. And then I listened to people who talked about it being valid. And when somebody wants something, kind of like a child who cries when they can't have their way, who's spoiled, there is no reasoning with a spoiled child because you can't correct behavior that's been practiced for years and years and years. Because the parent who tries to say, all right, that's it, you're on punishment, that doesn't mean anything to a 10-year-old child that's been spoiled since birth. You have to reverse this behavior and start towards habits of building something that's kind of breaking down or breaking away from what you've built up. So these supporters have built up Trump. So what you're seeing now, and we'll get to the insurrection shortly, is people trying to kind of break away and get him to straighten up after they've supported for 4 years. And, I would dare to say even prior to that. And it's like, you hear these politicians jumping out and, denouncing him and what he's doing. And I feel like it's too late, or it's insincere because of the fact that, their political futures, the political future of the Republican Party is at stake. So now either you support him or now you make a strong stance and try and, get some attention towards you to say, we're not about that. Well, you were for 3 3/4 years, or even longer than that. So why now? Is this the straw that broke the camel's back, or is it just the politically convenient thing to do? So I've said a mouthful, L. What's your thoughts?
Well spoken. Definitely laid it out for me to follow up. I just think the people are tired now. There was some people who was going along to get along because of the party. And, I wouldn't say all of them were truly Trump supporters because it was still a party involved. But what we do see is when it gets thick, how people jump ship. And yes, you can't blame them because, who would want to stand next to what's going on right now? Who would try to stand up for what's going on? So I think pretty much like you said, that was the straw that broke the camel's back. I really understand Wednesday what happened, that truly change the game, because, there's always been images that was put out of especially our youth, our young Black boys, how they're animals, how they're criminals, but it was on display for America. So you don't have to speak because America's seen it at the highest level. So it's like, I wouldn't have to sit here and say they look like animals, or because everyone has two eyes to see. This is why it's 20/20 vision. So I don't even have to go in. Only thing you got to do is go back to Warner Wolf. Let's take a look at the videotape.
Right. Let's go to the videotape. I mean, we're summarizing, and it would be probably not enough hours in the day to give all of the opinions that we have on a specific topic. So I'm going to try to give some cliff notes and set it up to kind of summarize, if you will.
Yeah, let me just say this before you say what you got to say, E. The beautiful thing about what happened January 6th is the wool that was covered over America's eyes. No one can ever deny it now. People have been in denial, people turn the cheek, but at the end of the day, the proof's always been in the pudding through history. But now you can truly see who was the animals that day.
So, man, I want to collect my thoughts, and I want to speak clearly, and I want to make sure I'm conveying this in a concise and in a way that's representative of us. There is emotion involved with how I feel, and I know we've spoken, but I want to be clear. Oftentimes what people do is they make generalizations, and they say, you people, or the Republicans are racist, or Black people are lazy, and they make these generalizations. So I want to be clear. Not every Republican person was at that rally or protest. Not every Republican person is necessarily in agreement with what Trump thinks, does, or how he acts. They just believe in the Republican Party. As people who are Democrat believe in the Democratic Party and may not agree with everything that Joe Biden. I don't agree with everything that Joe Biden does, but I think he is the proper candidate, and I think that he will steer America back to a sense of normalcy. I think he has a good sense of history. But let's keep the main thing the main thing. What we saw on January 6th was a clear display, whether it's the Proud Boys, the Trump supporters, of people who felt KKK, who felt like we're losing the grip.
That's where I'm going.
And Georgia, on top of the certification of the Electoral College from Congress, was a buildup. First, we lose the election, then they won't hear our cry for and there was recounts done, but you won't substantiate the fact that we feel that there's been tampering or fraud or too many mail-in ballots or illegal things happening with the election. You won't hear that cry. Georgia, the two Democratic candidates won, but that statement, we the people's voice were heard loud and clear. And I think that's what you saw. They said, if we can't do it the democratic way, if we can't do it the communicative way, if we can't do it the civil way, we'll do it the barbaric way.
The way they've taken over America in the beginning.
We'll do this by force. So to that point, the FBI and all of the intelligence and the Congress, excuse me, the Capitol Police Department, you know, the all of those people, and I know some of them are eluding me, some intelligence and people who serve and protect the National Guard, they had to be aware of January 6th. So the question I have, El, is how in the world could people get to the point where they were that close to our government with backpacks, where every government official's life was in danger and the building was compromised?
I can tell you.
Wait, was it a fluke? Was it a setup? Was it happenstance? Is it a once in a lifetime thing? And I said, before I speak on this, let me do some research. Let me see if this is actually possible. More than possible, is it probable? What is the percentage of something like this happening? And the percentages are in the 0.0 percentile because of the layers of defense that's involved with those level of people congregating in the same building at one time to decide on something so relevant and poignant for our country. They had to be on high alert, and those people doggone near had a welcome mat. Speak to it, brother.
Well, only thing I would love to say is I feel elevation is definitely coming to the urban people. The reason why I say that, when you look at the big picture of what you've seen and what was on display, anyone with common sense understand when you see that, it comes from the top. Just like when you play back, I'll give you an example, 9/11. When 9/11 occurred, all of the major gurus, business gurus, none of them showed up for work that day. People have to understand they must have got an email or a call. Well, that's the same thing that happened at the Capitol the other day.
Because none of those, because like if you going after somebody, like nobody in Congress got hurt. And I don't want them to. And I digress. 5 people, I believe 5 or 6 people lost their lives as a result of that melee, and may their souls rest in peace, because you'd never want that to happen as a result of what was supposed to be a peaceful protest, which I don't think was in the plans for that group in the beginning.
Did you see the lady that actually died? Did you see the video of her before they actually got there?
No.
The same lady who actually died said, "We have to go and storm the Capitol. They're taking over. I'll die for this." Watch what you say, people, because words are very powerful. So watch what you say, because she sure enough died that night.
That image of the cop being squished in the video when they were literally like, it just seems so, the word that continues to come to my head is barbaric, because those people look like cavemen.
Okay, so let me get on my little tyrant for a second. Okay, so when people wanna, like, even though we don't like to acknowledge the truth because the truth hurts, we have to understand that if you are Black, your grandmothers, your great-grandmothers, they were turned into slaves. They were raped by these people who hung them. I mean, you can look at some of the images. I'm talking about the flags.
First of all, you speak to it because these are facts. These are These are historical facts. This is not your opinion.
Yeah, these are actual facts. So when you go back, and I love the word you use, barbaric. Well, first things first, Christopher Columbus started it off with documented history of being barbaric. So then now we keep it going. See, one of the reasons why I truly understood why the media has to make Black people look so bad is because they understand they control the narrative. And when you control the narrative, you kind of dictate how people look as a class or as a culture or as a race. And
I'm sorry.
And they've understood to keep their foot on our neck as far as how our image is perceived. So when you look at the reality of today, after the 6th of January, watching that video, see, they've never really documented them being barbaric. So now we're at a state with Trump being the president who's edged them on. Now we know change has to occur. So for people, you know, I've watched on social media how people was looking at the videos and they're like, I'm glad it's not us. Imagine if they were Black. Imagine if it's the Black Lives Matter movement. What we have to thank God for is, one, it wasn't the Black Lives movement, and two, God allowed the truth to be prevailed, to be seen.
I want to say this to your point. One of the things that's always bothered me in terms of imagery, I know what you represent, I know what I represent. When we get on the show and we talk, we want to make sure that we're representing ourselves, our platform, our families, our spirituality, our respective companies, sponsors in the best light possible. And to that point, you go on the news sometimes and they interview people, and they interview a bunch of people. They never interview one person. Oh, what happened? And then you see somebody get on there who's not so well kept, maybe not so well spoken, maybe not so educated. And they portray us in these lights that are less than flattering. And
which we're taught in school. By trade, I'm a certified television producer. We're taught that in school.
So we're not going to delve too far into that, because I think what the goal is, right, is to create a unity and not to further separate. So with that being said, the truth is what it is. Now here's my challenge. Let me sit up. We as Americans have seen what's happened on January 6th. We have a responsibility to each other. I have a challenge for everybody, Al. We as Americans, we have a choice to make. We cannot hide from what happened on January 6th. We cannot run from the facts that we know. So we have a choice to choose what's right or what's wrong. And at the end of the day, this is what I know. You can call it your spirituality. You can call it the universe. You can call it God. Whatever you believe, I don't know, and I'm not here to judge anyone. But what I do know is when you do good, good comes to you. And when you do not do good, that also will come back on you. I say, treat your fellow American, your fellow person, as you would want to be treated. I say that we've seen enough, we've done enough, we've experienced enough of the separation. We've allowed ourselves to be controlled by the images that we see, to be persuaded by the politicians we've heard, by the insincere people who have objectives and agendas that serve themselves and don't serve the greater good of this country or the people who work hard for this country to make it great. So when Trump says, make America great again, I'm saying, let's take away the again. let's work to make America great by celebrating the things that unite us as opposed to separating and holding on to the things that separate us. We have an opportunity to address the issues that are at hand. And if we can first address the issues, share in an open and respectful way, be able to get past the many preconceived notions, the headache, the heartache, and the pain that we've all experienced on whatever side of the coin that you're on, there's an opportunity for healing. And I want to actively participate in that process and meet the people who are not like me, who are different than me, who share different thoughts, halfway to say, you know what? This is a new day and a new opportunity. Where do we go now? Because we know what's wrong, but how do we fix that? And that's where I'm at.
Got you, got you. Well, I mean, E, at the end of the day, for the people who truly just don't understand why it would happen the way it happened January 6th, is because it's very simple. There's about to be a transformation of power, and they know it, and it's worth dying for. Let me ask you a question, and I want you to be very honest with me. Just by the color of your skin, you always have an advantage. It's Black privilege. Would you give it up?
For me, the way I was raised, and I know my mom and dad watch this show, I want to do what's right and what's fair by all people. That's the way I was raised.
Okay, well, I got some good parents too, but let me tell you this, and I'm going to be honest. If I had Black privilege everywhere I go, I always had an upper hand or a cushion. There's no way I would want to give it up. And that's just where we are in the state of America right now. That's it.
And I'm going to say that I believe that that's the mindset of all of the people who think that way.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And I think that there's a shift, and that privilege, it's not gone,
but it's still shift.
It's shrinking.
Yeah, shrink. A great word. It's shrinking.
So
I just love to say this too, Ian. I'm gonna let you wrap it up. I just want our viewers, especially our young viewers, to understand you are what you think. What a man thinketh, what a woman thinketh is who you are. So what we have to do now is we have to somehow try to eliminate these images that they have created of us, being criminals, being thugs. And we have to now go out and create new images. And, with the changing of the office and, the new leaders coming in, I truly feel that we're on the right road to that being done. And I really feel at the end of the day, we will go from tragedy to triumph.
Well said. And to all of the people who subscribe and follow and support, we thank you sincerely. We hope that this podcast has served you well and given you information and perspective on the current events. And we just want to shed light on what's happening in the world. And there is a social responsibility that comes with a platform like this. It's not every day that you have, 15,000 subscribers or get a chance to be in front of 10,000 people per week. So if we have an influence, we want to influence those people who listen to us, believe us, support us, and just care about what we say. We want to make sure we put out good information. And this was not a week where we felt basketball was at the fore of what we wanted to talk about. So thank you for consuming this content. We hope that you comment and engage, and we respect every perspective because it's authentically yours. And we'll get back to regularly scheduled programming next week. Again, we thank the sponsors, the team, Jerry Ice D Jones. Make sure you check us out on all platforms. YouTube, Spotify, Apple TV, BecomeTV.com. Big shout out to the Harlem Wizards, Fine Food Cuisine, T-Mobile, 109 Embroidery, MMCC, all the sponsors. You got the last word, brother.
Only thing I can say is I'm just happy that we're moving in the right direction, man. Because we're human. I don't care what color you are, we're human. We all have hearts, and empathy is a very big thing. And this is why there's been harsh words said towards people like devils and all, because of empathy. We have to understand how it looks. It might not be that with everybody, but how it looks, there's no empathy. So, I just want to thank God for kind of exposing what's going on so we can heal. It's time to heal, and it's time to come together.
There it is, man. Who you shouting out, L?
The Almighty, that's it. Show like this, the Almighty.